So I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Like, really picture this. You are standing on a track, and the surface is that, that rough red rubber.
You can almost smell it baking in the heat.
Right,
Right.
exactly. You can smell it. You are wearing shoes that weigh, less than a deck of cards.
Yeah.
And you had spent the last 1,460 days of your life, 4 years, training for exactly this moment.
Every single morning alarm, every skipped meal, every sore muscle,
All of it. It all condenses down to
a single millisecond.
a millisecond, the starting gun. There are billions of people watching you on TV. The stadium lights are completely blinding. The noise is just absolutely deafening. And, well, here's the terrifying truth. Inside that split second, the difference between a gold medal and going home with absolutely nothing, it isn't your muscles.
No, that's not.
It isn't your VO2 max. It isn't your training log. It is entirely what is happening inside your head.
Which is just the quintessential high-stakes environment, isn't it?
Mm.
And what is so fascinating to me is that we, like as spectators, we often assume the person on the podium is simply the one who trained the hardest physically.
Right, like it's a math equation.
Exactly. More gym time equals more gold.
Yeah.
But if you look at the sources we're unpacking today, if you look at the actual patterns of who wins versus who chokes, that is rarely the whole story.
And that brings us to the real mission of today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of research that bridges a really interesting and honestly kind of unexpected gap.
A very cool intersection.
It is. Because on one side, we have the identity shift framework from Tony Robbins' recent summit. And then on the other side, we have the intense psychological demands of Olympic competition.
Yeah, it's a powerful combination. We are essentially deconstructing how elite athletes rewrite their internal narratives to completely transcend human limits.
And just to set the stage for you listening, the big thesis here, the thing that honestly kept me up last night just thinking about my own life, is that peak performance isn't about effort. It's about who you believe you are.
Right. It's that concept of identity over ability.
But let's be real for a second, because that sounds like a motivational poster you'd see in a dentist's office. Believe and you will achieve.
Hang in there.
Exactly. We aren't just talking about thinking positive here, are we? Because, if I'm standing next to Usain Bolt, I can think as positively as I want. I'm still losing that race.
You are definitely still losing that race. No, this isn't about wishing. What the sources dive into are specific state management techniques. Things like anchors and priming and radical motion.
These are biological triggers.
Yes, biological triggers, not just happy thoughts. And the really cool part is you don't need to be in the Olympics to use them. You can apply them to your own gold medal moments in life.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because the research uses this analogy that I found incredibly sticky: identity as the thermostat.
This is foundational. If you don't get this, none of the other techniques will work. So think of the thermostat in your house. Let's say you set it to 70 degrees.
Okay, 70 degrees, comfortable.
Right. Now, if it's winter and someone leaves a window open, the temperature drops to 65. What happens?
The heater kicks on. It works overtime to get back to 70.
Exactly. But here is the flip side that people usually miss. What if it's summer? What if it gets really hot outside and the room temperature rises to 75?
The AC kicks on and cools the room down back to 70.
The system always works to bring the environment back to the setting. It regulates itself to maintain that specific baseline. Now, here is the core insight from the framework. For an athlete, or really for anyone, your identity is that thermostat. It defines the absolute ceiling of your performance.
Wait, so you're saying that if I perform better than my identity thinks I should, I'll actually self-sabotage?
100%. That is the cooling down mechanism. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, meaning your physical training. But if your identity is set to, say, I am a regional competitor, your internal governor will slow that engine down the moment you start performing like a world champion.
That is wild.
You will essentially cool your performance down to match your internal belief of 70 degrees.
It explains so much about why we sometimes ruin a good streak. Like, you get a promotion or you're on a great diet and suddenly you do something stupid to mess it up. It's because your internal thermostat is saying, whoa, whoa, this is too hot. This isn't us.
Precisely. You return to your baseline. And that is why standard goal setting often fails at this elite level. The research really contrasts standard goal setting with what they call I am declarations.
Okay.
Because goal setting is, I want to win gold.
Which sounds perfectly reasonable.
It sounds reasonable, but it implies a lack. It implies you don't have it yet. It's external. It's just a wish.
Versus the I am declaration, which is what? I am the champion.
It's deeper than just a chant. It is an internal certainty. The sources highlight record-breaking sprinters and swimmers who don't just want to win. They believe they are the fastest person in the water before they even get wet.
So it's already a fact in their minds.
Yes, and here is the biology behind it. This internal narrative dictates the nervous system's response before the athlete even steps onto the field.
So the body is just following orders from the identity.
Correct. Physical training is the engine, but identity is the governor. If the identity doesn't match the ambition, that governor kicks in. You hesitate, you doubt, you choke.
Okay, let's talk about the choke. Because the outline mentions something called the fear state. And we have all been there, palms sweaty, brain completely goes blank. But for an Olympian, that's happening while the whole world watches. What is actually happening biologically when an athlete chokes?
So the fear state is fundamentally a survival mechanism. It's your amygdala, the ancient part of your brain, completely hijacking the system. During high-pressure qualifiers, the brain's natural instinct is just to survive. And in evolutionary terms, survival means play it safe.
Right. Don't run fast, don't jump high, just hide behind a rock so the lion doesn't eat you.
Exactly. Don't take risks. Conserve energy. Your peripheral vision narrows, that's tunnel vision. Blood literally moves from your fine motor skills to your major muscle groups.
Which is great for running from a bear, but terrible if you need to execute a perfect triple axel or like a precise archery shot.
It is the exact opposite of what you need to break a world record. You simply cannot play it safe and win gold.
So the problem is this biological override. The brain screams, freeze or run away. How do they stop that? Because I assume they can't just sit in the locker room and meditate for an hour when the starting gun is about to go off.
No, and that's a crucial point the sources make. Meditation is great for a long-term baseline, but in the moment, you need something much faster. You need to shock the system. The solution, according to the Robbins framework applied here, lies in physiological anchors.
Physiological anchors. It sounds technical, but looking at the notes, it seems really almost aggressive.
It is. This is about what the framework calls radical motion.
Radical motion. Is this why you see swimmers slapping their chests red before they dive in? Or sprinters doing those frantic jumps behind the blocks?
Yes, they aren't just hyping the crowd up, they are interrupting the pattern. Think about it. If your brain is in a fear loop, saying don't mess up, that is a feedback loop. You can't think your way out of a thinking problem. You have to move your way out.
You have to short-circuit the loop entirely.
Exactly. Radical motion, so clapping, shouting, jumping, it sends a massive signal to the nervous system. It overrides the amygdala. If the brain says freeze, the body says explode.
Wow.
It creates a disconnect that allows the athlete to reset. It is a split-second shift.
It's almost like hitting the side of an old TV to get the picture back.
That's actually a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You are percussively maintaining your own hardware.
The notes also mention breathing patterns, but again, this isn't the calm down, take a deep breath in through your nose yoga stuff.
No, relaxation breathing is for recovery. This is activation breathing. It is often rhythmic, intense, very sharp exhalations. This changes the oxygenation and chemistry of the blood almost instantly. It shifts you from a sympathetic nervous system freeze to a state of high arousal and command.
It's signaling the brain.
Right. It signals to the brain, we are not in danger. We are the predator, not the prey.
That is such a cool distinction. Predator versus prey breathing. It transforms the abstract idea of confidence into a mechanical process. You pull a lever, radical motion, breathing, and the state changes.
And that is a huge key takeaway for you listening right now. These aren't just for athletes. If you are backstage before a keynote speech or walking into a huge meeting and your heart is pounding, sitting still is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Because if you sit still, you spiral.
You spiral. You just stew in the cortisol. You need to move. Go to the bathroom stall and do 5 radical jumps. Change the state.
Okay, so we have the thermostat set correctly. We know who we are. We have the physical anchors to stop the fear. We're jumping and breathing like predators. But here is where it gets really interesting to me. The script, the actual words running through your head.
The internal dialogue.
Right. Because you can jump around all you want, but if your inner voice is saying, please don't screw this up, you're still in trouble. The research gives this devastating example of a limiting belief. I hope I don't fail.
That phrase is a poison pill for performance. Think about the syntax of it. I hope I don't fail. It implies that failure is the likely outcome, or at least the dominant object of focus, and you are just trying to dodge it.
It's totally defensive. It's playing not to lose rather than playing to win.
Completely defensive. And the brain has a really hard time processing negatives. If I tell you, don't think of a blue elephant, what do you see?
A blue elephant?
Oh, yeah.
immediately.
Right. So if you tell yourself, don't fall, your brain focuses on fall. When a performance plateau hits, which happens to literally every athlete, that script, I hope I don't fail, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So how do they rewrite it? What does the identity shift actually look like in that moment?
Elite competitors replace that fear-based script with an unshakable identity that specifically thrives on the intensity of the spotlight. It shifts from, I hope I survive this pressure, to, I need this pressure to be my best.
That is a huge flip. Instead of the pressure being a weight, it becomes fuel.
And there is a neuroscience component here that the research touches on. This new mental narrative acts as a shield.
A shield against what?
Modern distractions. We have to remember, today's Olympians are competing under a level of scrutiny that just didn't exist 20 years ago. Social media, global expectations, millions of comments.
Oh, totally. You check your phone in the locker room and half the world is critiquing your form or your outfit or your face. It's
Right.
brutal.
Exactly. If your internal narrative is weak, if it is, I hope I don't fail, those external voices get right in. They hook onto your insecurity. They reinforce the fear. But if the narrative is, I am the master of this moment, it shields the brain.
Because it doesn't align with their reality.
Right. The criticism bounces off because it doesn't match the internal reality they've set.
It's like an immune system for your confidence.
That is a perfect way to put it. It protects the identity from infection by doubt.
But holding on to that identity, that's the hard part, isn't it? Anyone can feel like a champion for 5 minutes after a good pep talk or after listening to a deep dive like this. But the Olympics are weeks long. You're in the village, the food is weird, the beds are literally made of cardboard, you're waiting, you're training. How do you keep that shield up for that long without exhausting yourself?
This brings us to a really important distinction in the sources. The difference between a temporary high and sustainable mental conditioning. A motivational speech gives you a dopamine spike. It feels good, but it absolutely fades. What the research describes here is sustainability through ritualized focus.
And this is where the concept of priming comes in.
Yes, the daily priming routines adapted from the Robbins framework. The objective isn't to get hyped up once. It is to keep the athlete in a flow state throughout their entire stay in the Olympic Village, not just on race day.
So it's a daily practice, like brushing your teeth for your brain.
Exactly. You don't brush your teeth once in January and say, well, I'm good for the year. You do it daily to remove the plaque. Priming removes the doubt. The research emphasizes that the goal of this repetition is to make the identity shift the default setting.
Ah, default setting. That's the key right there.
Right. When you are tired, when you are stressed, when things go wrong, you revert to your default. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training.
Oh, I really like that.
If your default is insecurity, you crumble under pressure. But if you have primed yourself every single morning to be a champion, that becomes your default. You don't have to force it.
It becomes who you are, not just something you are trying to be for an hour.
Precisely. It moves from a conscious effort to an unconscious competence.
Okay, so let's pivot a bit, because I'm looking at this and thinking, this is amazing for someone running the 100 meters, but what about you, the listener? What about someone who is listening to this on their commute, heading into a high-stakes board meeting, or maybe dealing with a difficult negotiation or a personal crisis?
The bridge is very direct. The biology of a human being in a boardroom is not that different from a human being on a track. The stakes feel just as high to the nervous system. The fear of public speaking triggers the exact same biological fear of death that a spear being thrown at you used to trigger.
Which is irrational, but it feels incredibly real in the moment.
It feels completely real. So how do we translate this gold medal mindset to daily life? The research gives us a very specific 3-step action plan. Let's break that down.
Step 1 is the audit.
The audit.
Which honestly sounds kind of painful.
It is. Most people skip this entirely because it hurts.
Why does it hurt?
Because you have to look at the ugly truth. You have to analyze your current identity. What is the setting on your thermostat right now? Not what you want it to be, but what it actually is.
Right.
In your career, do you see yourself as a leader, or do you secretly see yourself as an imposter? In your relationships, are you lovable, or are you just lucky to be here?
That's tough to admit, hey, I think I'm sabotaging myself because I don't actually see myself as a winner.
It creates cognitive dissonance. But you cannot change a setting you don't acknowledge. If you don't realize your thermostat is set to 65 degrees, you'll never understand why you can't keep the room at 75. You have to admit, I have a limit, and I put it there.
Okay, so let's say we do the scary audit. We admit we've been playing small. What's step 2?
Step 2 is the upgrade. This is where you change the narrative to match your future aspirations. You consciously draft that I am statement we talked about earlier.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. This sounds a lot like fake it till you make it.
It's close, but there's a vital nuance. Faking it implies you are pretending to be something you're not, usually to fool other people. Upgrading means you are training your own nervous system to accept a new reality for yourself. You aren't fooling others. You're reprogramming your own governor.
So it's not saying I'm a billionaire when you have $5 in the bank. It's saying I am a savvy investor, which changes how you treat that $5.
Exactly. It's identifying the traits of that future self and claiming them right now. It's physically resetting the thermostat dial.
Got it. And step 3?
Step 3 is synergy. This connects back to the very beginning of our deep dive. You have to ensure the psychological framework matches the physical execution.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning you can't just think positive thoughts and not do the work. That's just delusion. And you can't just do the work and have negative thoughts. That's self-sabotage.
Yes.
Synergy is when your identity says, I am a champion, and your daily actions, your work ethic, your preparation, your discipline absolutely confirm that identity.
They feed each other.
They amplify each other.
Yeah.
That synergy is what the research calls the ultimate blueprint for any modern high performer. It aligns the engine with the governor. When those two things are aligned, you enter a state of flow where effort actually feels effortless.
It's really about closing that gap between what you do and who you think you are.
And realizing that you have total control over both. You can train the body, but you can also train the identity. Most people just assume their identity is fixed. I'm just an anxious person. I'm just not good with money. I'm just not a morning person.
We treat them like zodiac signs. Oh, that's just me.
Right. And this research unequivocally says, no, that is just a setting on a dial. Yeah. And you have hands. You can turn it.
That is incredibly empowering. It means we aren't stuck with the settings we were born with, or the settings our parents gave us, or our past failures gave us.
Exactly. It is a choice. A rigorous, disciplined daily choice, but a choice nonetheless.
So what does this all mean for us today? We've journeyed from the idea of identity as a thermostat, that invisible ceiling on our potential, to the mechanics of smashing through that ceiling using radical motion, predator breathing, and daily priming.
We've seen that the choke, the failure under pressure, isn't usually a lack of skill at all. It's a failure of state management. It's the biology of fear taking over. And we've seen that by rewriting the script, we can build a literal shield against the noise of the world.
I just love the idea that we can interrupt our own patterns, that we don't have to be victims of our own nervous systems, that we can literally slap ourselves out of a spiral.
Which leads us to a final thought to leave you with today. We talked about the concept of the pattern interrupt from the research. So here's the question I want you to walk away with. If the world's best athletes, people with unmatched genetic gifts and millions of dollars in training, can fail simply because of an identity crisis under the lights, where in your own life are you physically ready to win, but your internal thermostat is still set to play it safe?
That is a heavy question. Where do we have the skills, but not the setting?
It's worth exploring on your own, because once you find that thermostat, you can reach over and turn it up.
Boom. There it is.
Oh.
Well, look, before you head into your next big challenge, whether it's a gold medal match or just a really stressful Tuesday with your boss, maybe try one of those priming techniques. Move your body, change your breath, check your script.
And remember, the engine only goes as fast as the governor allows.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.